you could accept the fact that this city is headed for a disaster of biblical proportion.
Well, what do you mean, biblical?
What he means is Old Testament, Mr.
Yes.
Mayor. Real wrath of God type stuff.
Exactly.
Fire and brimstone coming down from the skies. Rivers and seas boiling.
40 years of darkness, earthquakes, volcanoes.
The dead rising from the grave. Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together. Mass hysteria.
We've even seen a referee 2 feet from the play on the sideline staring at the guy trying to catch the ball, staring at where his feet are, and still calls him out.
Get ready for 2 hours of hard-hitting football talk from two men in the know. It's Football on the Know with Jim and Joe.
Drew Brees is a Hall of Famer, absolutely, and showing that he could possibly be the GOAT.
All right, but I gotta say something about the New England Patriots here. The Patriots kept coming out and saying before the Super Bowl even happened, they kept saying, "Oh, well, everybody's against us." Bullshit.
What they say, it's not the X's and the O's, it's the Jimmies and the Joes.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome once again to another episode of Football on the Know. I am Jim McPhee, and alongside of me is Mr. Joe DeCapita.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back for another edition of Football on the Know. It is exciting. Guess what, everybody? Draft is over. We are ready to move on to the next stage of the offseason. It's very exciting. A lot of potential for each team out there and all 32 teams. What's going to happen now? You know, there's a lot of situations that can happen. Do players get cut that you never thought would get cut because of the young rookie that just got drafted? You know, is there a trade that might happen because of what happened in the draft? We're going to cover that all right here, right now.
And also, what do you think about the pick, the first overall pick for your team that happened? You know, the things that happened. What do you want to talk about here? Whether it be your team or one of the other ones, it doesn't matter.
Give us your feedback. Comment below in the video. Give us your feedback on what you thought of the draft for your team, or if there was like some kind of a surprise that you saw throughout the draft that you were like, "Wow, I didn't see that coming."
Oh, yeah, because, I mean, even when we talked about it with Drew Boylehart, you know, from the huddlereport.com,
right.
He said this could possibly be the most boring, draft in a sense, where there was nothing going to go on, no trades and this and this.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, they happened. And the picks that just happened, some of the value, this is what it always amazes me, too, is because no matter when – you're doing your mock drafts and stuff, You're looking at it, I'm like, this could play out where there's not going to be a lot of moving and situational things. The value that a lot of teams got further on in the first round and even carried into the second round that was still there was absolutely amazing and still blew my mind. We were at Katie O'Byrne's in Schenectady, New York, and 104.5, the team was there too, our friends Levac and Gaz, and we had a great time. We went Facebook Live, a few times, like everybody I might have seen here with our group. And I just posted tonight the reaction of what happened when the New York Giants select Daniel Jones at 6 overall. It was a shocker, Joe.
It was, and it was much felt throughout the crowd. A lot of people didn't even think this was a possibility at 6 for the 6th overall pick. The expression on, I would say, Giants' faces was shock and awe, and Jets fans that were there, Bills fans, there were some Tampa Bay Buccaneer fans that were there that we noticed.
There were a lot there, though.
And
that's surprising.
I think much because of Gaz. We all know Gaz is a Buccaneers fan, so maybe he kind of like flew them in from down south. Not sure.
Perhaps.
But it was shock and awe for the Giants fans, but everybody else seemed to have a good laugh about the whole situation. The Jets were Jet fans that were there. They were laughing at the Giants, and I would say hold on a second. I would say wait a second here. It's easy for everybody to go ahead and dictate, oh, well, man, that was a reach. This was a bad pick. Don't see this guy ever becoming a starter in this league. There's a lot of speculation out there about every pick. Some people are very high on certain guys, like a Devin White. I think everybody across the board was on the ship there, saying that he was one of the best players to be taken, and nobody had an issue with him being taken at 5. Same thing with Quinnen Williams. He was another guy that a lot of people believed he was going to be a very special player in this league. And nobody had a problem with wherever he was taking. There was very few guys like that, even in Nick Bosa. Some people, although the number 1 overall pick, a lot of people were kind of, they expected the pick of Kyler Murray being picked to the Cardinals. But at the same time, there was a little bit of friction with that pick. Some people don't believe he's even worth the first overall pick. They believed it should have been someone else. Now, that road and more, we're going to have to wait and see. I mean, everybody wants to say it's a reach. Everybody wants to give different grades on how they think each team did. But let's be honest here. You're not going to know absolutely anything until 2 or 3 years down the road when they are starting for that respected team. That's after that you can make a judgment call.
Yeah, definitely. While we're on the Daniel Jones talk here, I was in the video. I'm one of those people that was kind of surprised because again,
you were shocked. I got it caught on. Listen, if anybody wants to see the expression on Jimmy's face for his Giants when they took Daniel Jones, go ahead and check out our group page. If you scroll down a little bit, you're going to see some of the reaction that was when the Giants did pick. It was truly amazing.
It was amazing, and it's not even that they actually picked him because I was rooting for him, and I liked him better than
some of the other quarterbacks.
Yeah, Dwayne Haskins and stuff. So, but I just was looking more, especially with the value that was there. The defense was there, and I was like, oh man, this is where we can get maybe our edge rusher, and maybe Daniel Jones could possibly fall to us at 17. That might be a nice play, but. Again, along with the draft, you hear, whether it's true or not, you hear whisperers about maybe teams wanting to trade up, teams that maybe wanted to grab Daniel Jones.
Yes.
So then get him in. Like you said, if that's your guy, you have to go up and grab that guy just to make sure that, if you like him that much, you must have him. Right. You have to get him. Because sometimes you have to do what you got to do.
Right.
And I think what bothers me sometimes with this stuff, when you talk about value too as well, it all sounds good now because everybody's doing their evaluation now. It's draft time. You're looking at the guys and you're seeing them fresh out of college and what you might think this person might turn into. Everybody has an opinion about everyone and how it goes. Just a few years ago now, we had two quarterbacks go 1 and 2 with Marcus Mariota and Jameis Winston. Yeah. Okay? Right now, like you said before, there's a 3-year rule with this whole thing to see what they are. Right now, there's still question marks about those guys at times, and those were the first and second overall picks.
Right. And that's the thing with that, too. The only exception to that rule is if there's a lot of changeover with that organization. And unfortunately for them, there has been a lot of changes being made, whether it be head coaches, offensive coordinators. So it's hard to gauge, even after 3 years, if there's a lot of turnover in your front office or your organization, your coaching staff, it's kind of like, what do we make of this prospect, of this quarterback, of this running back, of this receiver? What can we really make of it? Because we've changed the coaching staff over 3 times already, and they have had to learn a new offense every single time. Can you really hold that against, say, a quarterback? I don't think so. I think there's a lot to go with it. It's just like anything else. When they first come into the league, okay, a lot of people in the NFL believe that you need to give, say, a quarterback, you need to give him a year of just kind of sitting back and learning the process, learning how to be a consummate professional, learning the ropes, learning the playbook in and out, being able to establish chemistry with your wide receivers. And then later on, when you do get your chance, the second year in, possibly the third year in, you're already ready to go for it and hit the ground running without skipping a beat. But unfortunately, that position doesn't always get what it needs. A lot of times you'll see, like, for example, you see the Redskins right now in dire straits. They just need a quarterback. Unfortunately, what happened to Alex Smith, it could be career ending, really. So, and that was something that nobody would have foreseen happen. So now they're in a predicament where no matter what quarterback that they drafted, they may be forced to kind of, if he outperforms a guy like, Case Keenum or something like that, they may have to be forced to be like, it's kind of even. If your young up and coming rookie is kind of even with your veteran, usually you kind of say, well, he's going to have to, live and learn, and he's already there with that vet. Let's put him in now. Let him have the experience for a year. It's going to be a little rough, but get him in there, and let's see what he can do. So, unfortunately, not everybody has that luxury, but it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out this coming season.
Oh, absolutely, because that's the thing that's coming out now, too, is also the talk, like, well, how fast are some of these guys going to be put into the games in their first year? They've already looked back at the previous history of quarterbacks that are taken in the first round, when they're going to go in. Is Haskins going to go right in and start right away? Because, again, they have Case Keenum there, who did look great that 1 year or so at Minnesota.
Yeah.
But then last year, not looking so hot, in Denver.
Yep.
Finds a home here. Maybe he says, all right,
because
now
John
I got a
Elway
shot
got him.
here. Yeah. And, Colt McCoy was injured, though, too, so he's not exactly the future there. And what you said with Alex Smith, he was injured as well. So, I mean, here's a new start for two of these guys now, Haskins and Keenum. How's that going to go? Is he going to be able to just pass the torch right away?
And that's what I'm worried about right now for the Redskins and for their fans. Yes, I think they got themselves a stud at quarterback in Dwayne Haskins. He was definitely the most accurate passer coming out in this year's draft. He's super smart. He has all the tools. He can make all the throws. However, he's had 1 year of production in college football. Okay, now, even if you go back to look at when Mitch Trubisky got drafted, he was kind of in the same shoes as Dwayne Haskins. He had 1 year of real starting experience in college for North Carolina. There was a lot of hype around him and all that. He had all these accolades, and he had wheels. He could throw the ball. He could do all these things. He got picked in the top 5. He got pushed up there, and he seems to be doing fine. But with Haskins, yes, he had 1 year production, and wow, one hell of production in college football. A guy who, for his first year in college football as a starter, threw for over 5,000 yards and 50 touchdown passes. That is absolutely astronomically great for just to have one season in college football, your first season as a starter, and to do all that. I know he had talent around him, but he capitalized on that. But even with that success, he's the type of player where I think he really does need a year off. He needs, coming into the NFL, because he's so new, to playing that quarterback, that starting quarterback role. I think he, unlike Mitch Trubisky, where I thought he was a little bit more NFL ready, I really think Dwayne Haskins will thrive tremendously if they have that luxury, because Case Keenum's there, if they can just give him a year off. I know a lot of fans out there are going to be upset by that comment, but in the long run, it could pay off huge dividends. He could actually be the real answer for Washington going forward. And if that's the case, if that all works out, now you just got to build around him. They already have a strong offensive line when healthy. We all know they brought Adrian Peterson back, so they have the running back there. But Jarius Squeeze is coming back from injury from last year. We never really got to see what he could do as a rookie. This is technically he's still a rookie technically, so we'll see what he can do. Chris Thompson's going to come back healthy, another like dual threat type of running back. They have weapons. They have good offensive line. They have some good running back depth. They have the quarterback play. But the big question was receivers. Did they do enough to really help this offense out? I'm not really so sure. We're going to have to wait and see that. But the future does look bright.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you want to talk about another move that they made, trading into the first round again to grab Montez Sweat back at 26th overall. Again, where some people on their draft board saw him going much earlier, and he was a better gamble. But this might even show you where people were concerned about his health, possibly in the heart issue, that maybe helped make him drop. And the Redskins went in there, saw the value there, traded in, and now they've got a nice piece on the edge for him to help them out with that defense where they're struggling last year a bit on defense at times too because of injuries and things like that. And,
And that's the thing, too, is with those injuries starting to pile up on offense, especially their offensive line, I don't think they had a starter by the end of the season. I think they're playing with all backups almost, which was pretty rough for them. And for AP to still eclipse over 1,000 yards last year and to perform at the level that he did was tremendous. Now, and you look at the defense has been so rock solid. I mean, even though they got banged up here and there, but they still came to play. They still played hard.
Absolutely. They kept them in a lot of games.
They still kept offenses down below 20 points. It was pretty amazing for them to do that with as a rocky ship as they had on offense. So now they all come back healthy again, offense and defensively. If the defense can just stay healthy, they are going to be fine. We know they're going to be fine. With the addition of Montez Sweat, what he brings pass rushing ability. He brings, definitely not going to be able to let that quarterback sit in the pocket for too long, because now you not only got Montez Sweat on one side, but you also got Ryan Kerrigan on the other side.
Yeah.
Another great pass rusher. The only thing that I question with the Redskins on this pick, they traded up and they got him. Okay, fine. He's a great talent. But what are they going to do with him in this defensive scheme? They run a 3-4 scheme. Are they going to use him as just a pure pass rusher? Because in this scheme, that's what he's going to end up being seen as. Will he be able to play the run as well? Are they going to have him stand up? If they have him as a 3-4 linebacker, are you going to ask him to cover?
Yeah.
I think that's where he's going to struggle tremendously. So basically what they might have gotten, yes, they improved on pass rush on the opposite side, but he's going to have to come out. He's a one-dimensional type of guy at that point. He's not going to be able to cover as a linebacker. So that's the one question mark that I have for them.
Yeah, so, I mean, the Redskins making moves, a lot of different plays there for them to try and move in this division to where it looks like to me when I was looking at the rosters before the draft here, it's kind of the Cowboys' division to lose. I mean, with the way the Redskins went down with Alex Smith last year, it's a horrible thing, but right there, they're out of quarterback. So now they're grabbing to see who they can get, and Dwayne Haskins, Case Keenum, trying to get back in this thing, because it's kind of anybody's division. I'm not really sold exactly on the Cowboys altogether again, because even despite having that great offensive line, I don't believe in Dak Prescott. Yes, they've got Amari Cooper. They have struggled so badly on tight end, though. They go and call Jason Witten to come back and please help. And now they think they're going to make it to the Super Bowl on this. I do like how the corners have been able to progress, and they're playing a lot better.
The defense as a whole has been truly amazing how they've managed to come together. I will give
Vander
credit.
Esch, too. That was a blessing.
I will give credit to the Cowboys front office for how they've assembled this defense all through the draft, mind you. They managed to find 2 corners in the same draft to become their starters. And not just starters, but they're pretty darn good. They fit into their scheme pretty well, and they're very physical guys, and they can stay with you. If they play man-to-man, they are very capable of staying right on your hip and not giving you an ounce of space. And then you look on the back end with Jeff Heath and another young safety that they drafted last year. I forgot who it was, but they got a nice package here on the back end. And then you look at their front seven, they even built even more. They took a chance on Jalen Smith when they drafted him. A lot of people weren't sure if the nerve damage was too bad in his knee. Was he going to be able to come back and play football? They believed in it, and they took him in the second round, and they got themselves a gem at linebacker. Now, taking over the middle linebacker spot, you also have Kyle Vander Esch, who can play outside as well. That's the nice thing about both these linebackers is they're interchangeable. And for just his rookie season, played extremely well. So you have that, plus their slow improvements that they've made on the D-line via the draft with Taco Charlton. And now they're getting a little bit
keeping
of
DeMarcus Lawrence, too.
Yeah, DeMarcus Lawrence they re-signed, and they gave him a ton of money to keep him there. They basically just said, hey, you two Brinks trucks, just drive over to his house and drop off all the cash there. But here's the other thing, is you have a little bit of turnover now on that defensive line. David Irving getting into trouble in the offseason for marijuana, and now basically claiming that he doesn't need football. He said he would much rather smoke and not play and everything, which I'm actually baffled by. Like, dude, that is your job. That's how you make your money. Now, go ahead, whatever.
It's a lifestyle changer. Lifestyle changer. You can smoke weed on the off season or whatever you're going to do.
Yeah.
It's a lifestyle changer. Yeah. And what they talk about also could be, now with the NFL, with how much money they make and how lucrative it is generational money. That's why I say, think about your kids, too.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, you want your pot and this, but that's generational money. You can hand that
Yeah,
down
about
to
the
your
future.
children and get them going into the right situation.
And the other thing, too, is Randy Gregory, a guy that's been in trouble almost his whole entire career in the NFL. I don't even know how many snaps he has on the field because I think he has more drug charges. So he's another issue that they're going to have to figure out. So as good as they are all over on that defense, the defensive line is starting to deteriorate a little bit because of these issues that the Cowboys didn't prepare for right now. And on offense, you bring up a good point. They do have a good offensive line, but that offensive line is also another issue too. We look at Travis Fredericks, who had a rare condition that's actually keeping him out of playing football. And I don't know if he's going to be able to recover to the point where he can play again, or if it's possibly going to keep him out completely. And if that's the case, that's your quarterback of the offensive line, which could drastically change on how well they play week to week. Your center is the one that calls all the plays on the offensive line, the blocking schemes, depending on what play they're running. The center makes all those calls. If they see a blitz coming, it's a safety blitz. Well, we're going to shift to this side, and pick up that blitz. So if he can't go, now there's a huge hole at center. We noticed that their offensive line is a little bit in flux too because of injuries, because of offensive linemen being shuffled around to cover up other holes. Tyron Smith, one of the best left tackles in football, he has an extremely bad back. And there are question marks out there. How long is he going to be able to last? We saw last year he got banged up. He was out for several weeks, and he came back in all because of his back. Now, is that going to continue going into this season? Will it pretty much knock him out maybe before the season starts, while they're in training camp? You never know. If that happens, this offensive line is looking really shaky for Dak Prescott.
Now, speaking of shaky, I think some of the shakiness with this division, excuse me, and why I think that's even the Cowboys division to lose is there's so much turnaround, I think, with the Eagles and the thing that's going on there. And I'm not even sure how Carson Wentz is going to come back this season. Is he even going to be the guy that he was? Because last year, even when he came back, he didn't look so hot. And now that they've moved on from Nick Foles, moved him over to the Jaguars, and now he is. This is your spot to lead us now.
Yeah.
The rotational guys, they've come in and now. They lose Golden Tate now to the Giants. That he started to become a part of them. They're talking maybe moving Nelson Aguilar now, get rid of him. But I think he was a nice part of their offense with Wentz because it seemed like that's when he started to get going. We were all looking for when is Aguilar finally going to step up. I think he needed Carson Wentz to believe in him, and that was kind of his go-to guy. And it's always nice to have Alshon Jeffrey there, too, as well.
Yeah, right.
But he was getting going. But now to trade somebody like that away, I'm not sure. You have to turn around on the defense a little bit, too. There's too many questions here with the Eagles with me, so I'm not sure exactly. And then for them moving further with the offensive line here, that's where they did have some issues with injuries again as well. Kind of got the injury bug altogether.
Yeah.
And so they do draft an offensive lineman in the first round,
Andre
Dillard. So
Washington
hopefully,
State.
Yep. So hopefully that'll help them out and get a little better here and help protect their quarterbacks.
That's an insurance pick.
So
that's what that is. That's an insurance pick. He did deserve to be taken in the first round, and he's going to be a good player for them going forward. But it's definitely an insurance pick because Jason Peters, he's coming back for yet another season at that left tackle spot, and he is a Pro Bowl-ish type of left tackle. But will he be able to sustain the whole entire season and stay healthy?
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. And now, if by some chance he doesn't, yet again, they have that insurance. They have Andre Dillard who could step right in and hold it down at the left side of that offensive line. Another thing, too, is they moved on from Nick Foles. There was a lot of discrepancy between trading him, releasing him, and everything. But it all ended up as him being a free agent in the end. He ended up just picking whatever team he wanted to go to. It was the Jaguars all along. Ended up signing with them. Jacksonville's super happy now. Now they might actually have a quarterback that can throw over 20 yards, and they'll be very happy about that. Also a smart one. The Eagles had to make a decision with that whole situation. Do we pay him like starting quarterback money, like $20 million a year on average. Last year they paid him $15. They were okay with that. We got ourselves a great backup in case Wentz goes down. $15 million, okay, we can do that. Then it came to this offseason. Well, now the price is going to jump because now he wants to start somewhere. He deserves to start somewhere. We got to make a decision. Do we go with our draft pick in Carson Wentz, who's young but yet has had a couple injuries these past couple of years, but do we go with Nick Foles, who's 28, 29-ish, and he's not the long-term answer for us, but he's the right now answer for us. So they had to make a tough decision, and they ended up going with the draft pick. They spent big time value on Carson Wentz. They really do believe in him, and when he's on the field, when he's healthy, he's a legitimate franchise quarterback for the Eagles. Versus holding on to Nick Foles, and then what do you do with Wentz? Are you going to have to try to trade him? Do you trade him away, only have Foles for maybe 4 years, and then you're going to have to make another quarterback selection in the draft? I don't think they wanted that route. They wanted the more long-term route, so they went with Wentz. Now, this is all up to Wentz now. I think that if Wentz can not only stay healthy, but avoid being tackled as often. We do know that he likes to get out of the pocket and get some extra yards down the field. Can he avoid being hit? Can he avoid being tripped up or anything like that? You don't want your quarterback to be touched, especially when he gets outside of that pocket to possibly go run for more yards. So he's got to keep in mind that, listen, the team needs you more than ever now. We don't have an insurance policy behind you. You have to take care of yourself. Can he do that? Can he stay healthy? If he does, I definitely see the Eagles being one of those contenders this season.
Yeah, so that's questions that could be answered, and who knows? Again, we have a great upcoming season. A lot of interesting things could happen, but going back to the Giants now, I want to look at their pick now. They had it 17 with Dexter Lawrence. I had a head-scratcher on that one. Yeah. I agree the talent is there, but I don't know why we exactly grabbed another D tackle because we are running the 3-4.
Right.
And also, I really liked what B.J. Hill was doing. I happened to just check the rosters and we're on ourlads.com. Great for looking up depth charts and rosters here. And they bring up something interesting here to where, okay, maybe this is what they're thinking. They have moved B.J. Hill now to the left DN spot. And maybe he's going to be now an edge rusher or on the DN spot now and not on the nose tackle. And that's where Dexter Lawrence can now come in here along with Delvin Tomlinson. So maybe that makes a little more sense to me because the only thing is with me is why draft a D tackle when we're looking for that edge rusher that we needed out of Olivier Vernon or maybe another linebacker somewhere that can play both on the line and back in coverage.
Well, you see in the first pick, they took their quarterback. Josh Allen was there. Josh Allen would have fit perfectly with this 3-4 defense.
That's what I thought
to rush outside. But, again, they were a team. They knew what their guy was. They had their quarterback right there, and they didn't think that they could wait until 17 to get him. They definitely thought that the Dolphins or the Redskins might have some interest to take him, and quite honestly, both quarterbacks could have been gone before 17. So if Haskins, if the Dolphins do take a quarterback instead of taking that D tackle,
that's true. Yeah,
because maybe they were waiting for Daniel Jones to slide to them.
Yeah, that's what I think.
And
I really do.
If he slides there, say Dolphins take Daniel Jones. Okay, now he's off.
Christian Wilkins.
Then the Redskins come here. Haskins is gone. Now what do you have at 17? Now you're kind of okay. You got Josh Allen. You don't have an answer for the future at quarterback. That's not to say you can't get one, but at 17, at that point, then you're drafting best available. Then you're drafting for value because it's the first round. So you're not going to – and they probably would have took Dexter Lawrence right there at 17. So because of those scenarios going on, they said, listen, let's get our quarterback. We know we'll have him now at 6. And when they did grab Dexter Lawrence later on in the first round – I know a lot of fans were upset. A lot of fans were like, what's going on with this team? Why are they taking a He is a nose tackle. He is a gigantic man. He is 340 pounds of bullish muscle. The guy can break through double teams. He did it routinely in college. And He is almost unstoppable. He is going to, obviously, he's going to get double teamed in the NFL, higher level talent. He will get blocked more often than not, but he is a insanely good nose tackle. He fits this defense to a T as well. And they decided to go with him because now B.J. Hill is not a nose tackle. Dalvin Tomlinson is not a nose tackle. For the 3-4 scheme, those guys are defensive ends on a 3-4 at this point. You need your defensive ends to be around 300 pounds. So now what they used to be in a 4-3 at D tackle, now in a 3-4, they are now becoming D ends, and they needed someone solid to plug right there in the middle, and that's who they really believed in. I think Dexter Lawrence is going to work out amazing for them because now their D-line is set. Now it's all good. But, and I know that they were, Giants fans were upset about how this all played out. But in the end, they were plugging not only a need, but they saw value with Dexter Lawrence there. So as much as a lot of people, or fans, I should say, disagree with how they drafted, this is what they had on their board. This is what they truly believed were the answers at that time in those situations. So now you're going to have to sit back. I know you don't like it. A lot of fans out there don't like it. But you're going to have to sit back and see how they do. You can't really get upset too much. Yeah, there was value out there and everything. Like I was talking at the bar there at Katie O'Byrne's, and I was talking to other fans for the Giants and stuff, and like, oh man, I can't believe this. Why would we take? I was like, listen, I said, there's a plan. You gotta kind of just ride with it right now. You're gonna have to wait and see how all these draft picks and these players pan out. That quarterback. I honestly don't know if Daniel Jones would have been there at 17. I know a lot of reports out there after the draft are saying nobody was going to take Daniel Jones. They would have had him at 17. There's been a lot of reports like that. But I'm not so sure. I think a lot of mass media get fooled fairly easily when it comes to teams telling them whatever they want them to hear. So I think Miami was waiting on Daniel Jones, and because the Giants took him at 6, they end up taking the next best player on their board.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you there. And also, when it happened, when we were watching the draft at Katie O'Byrne's with 104.5, the Team ESPN Radio there too as well, and the other amazing fans at Katie O'Byrne's, which that was a great place, Joe. That was a good time. A great place to host the draft. Hopefully we can do it again next year.
Definitely.
But the Panthers go and pick Brian Burns right before the Giants. And I was like, I kind of wanted him to fall to us possibly too. That looked good. And maybe that helped, again, just lean it to where maybe that's why they wanted to go say, all right, well, he's going Dexter Lawrence right here. This will fit our need, like you said, true nose tackle, and it works. And later on, early on, actually, I would say early on in the day, we were on the horn. We went on Facebook Live, too, hearing different things that were going to go on, possibly trade scenarios here and there. Giants, we heard that they were possibly going to trade into the first round again late, which they did. But when they go and grab DeAndre Baker now, again, it kind of scratched my head again because I'm not sure. And if you look at the write-up on him, he's doesn't have the speed, so he can't keep up with some of the guys. So then he resorts to penalties or holding and stuff like that to stop guys here and there. And that's where you kind of it looks like Eli Apple 2.0. So it's kind of tough. And that's yes, some of the other stats sound good. I think is where pass defense or here and there it was. Right. Yes, sure, that's fine. But if you're giving up big yardage here and there, maybe that won't be so bad now that pass interference though is getting reviewed now. So maybe it's not a big deal. We'll see. But that kind of, when I hear that, I just remember Eli Apple, and I'm kind of scared a little bit. But overall, the Giants draft later on, I thought they grabbed really good value in the later rounds. So I'm pretty happy with where it goes on here with the Giants. And again, another reason for me to be excited about the upcoming season.
Absolutely. And the thing with DeAndre Baker, I wasn't really high on him as a lot of other people were. I know Denver Broncos, there was rumors out of Denver that they were very high on DeAndre Baker. We all know that they're looking at cornerback. They were going to try to trade Chris Harris Jr., who has requested a trade from the Denver Broncos, wants to be out of there, or he wants to get paid big-time money. And John Elway's like, okay, well, we'll try to trade you. But this guy, for cornerback for the Denver Broncos, he's often injured. So why would you even want to trade for a guy like that and pay him big-time money? I don't think he's worth it. And DeAndre Baker, going back to him, the Giants, it seems like they have a prototype type of corner that they want to find. A guy that's very tall, who has size, who's got some speed, but he doesn't have top end speed. He does have issues changing direction quickly with his hips. They're almost kind of a little bit tight there. He doesn't have loose hips, which a lot of a big draft term is used. And it could hurt them against really good receivers in the NFL, and we know that there's a lot of them. So could this lead into more penalties, more grabbing, more pass interference? Could. Or do the Giants think that they could train him and get him to get him in the facility, get him worked out, and going forward they can help develop him to become better than what he was in college? So that's what they're hoping. We'll see what happens. I thought they were trading. If they were going to trade up for corner, I thought Byron Murphy all day. To me, Byron Murphy was the best corner in this draft. A guy that would come up and tackle, a guy that could stick on his receiver when needed, man-to-man or not, in zone. He had instincts. He was like a ball hawk all over the place. I thought that was going to be the pick if they were going to take corner, and unfortunately they didn't go with my guy.
Yeah, I agreed with you that night, too, and that's the thing, the beauty of the draft. We have a Mike Tackett sighting, Joe.
What's going on,
in the
Mike?
house tonight. He says, happy dump day, fellas. Exactly, right? That's what we're going to be talking about a little bit. With Isaiah Crowell out for the year with a torn Achilles, is Josh Jacobs the true RB1, or are they still running back by committee since they have re-signed Doug Martin?
I think to be honest, Josh Jacobs, he is going to be penciled in as a starter. There's no reason why not, because as a first-round pick and a guy that, I'll tell you right now, John Gruden was head over heels in love with Josh Jacobs. He wanted him so badly that he got nervous. These are reports out of Oakland that they said John Gruden kept urging Mike Mack, hey, Mike, let's trade up 2 spots. We got to get our guy. Because they were worried about the Ravens. They were picking right in front of them, and they were worried. They were like, hey, Mike Mack, calm, cool, and collected, did a fantastic job for his first stint as the GM on draft day. Said, no, John, we're not going to trade any more picks away, not our capital. And, after the Eagles trade, actually, it was the Eagles that traded up in front of them. That's who it was. The Eagles traded up in front of them. They thought the Eagles that do have a need at running back. They thought the Eagles were trading up to get Josh Jacobs. Instead, they decided to pick
Andre Dillard.
Was it Andre Dillard?
Yep.
Andre Dillard. They trade up and got him, and then everybody, like John Gruden, almost like fell off his chair. That's how excited he was. So I really do think Josh Jacobs is head and tails easily plug-and-play starter at running back. However, I do still think that they will run by committee. I don't think that he's going to be just the even though they took him with the first-round pick, I don't think that they're going to have him start and just stay in all game. I think this is what John Gruden's offense dictates, and John Gruden loves to mix in different styles of running backs. So I definitely think that. But he will be listed as a starter, definitely.
Well, we know Gruden loves his running backs, and that's
he loves quarterbacks too.
Yes, he does. So I mean, we'll see what happens there. But I think exactly too. When you look at Josh Jacobs, he's got so many things he could be utilized for. I mean, you could use him in the pass game, running game as well. So I mean,
great blocker. He is a great blocking running back. So he has all the tools that Gruden ever wants in a running back.
And then what else? The Raiders scene. We're talking about them. Let's just bring about what they've done too. At number 4 now, I think some of the reaction with the group where we were at KDO Burns, we had Raiders fans too. You're Raiders fans. Jeff Levac from 104.5 The Team is. And again, when you hear when there's Ed Oliver was there, a couple others there, just bigger names still, and they heard Clellan Ferrell. So even Raiders fans, I think, on the screen when they're kind of like, "Who's this guy? Wait, what?"
It was absolutely classic. One of the Raiders fans that were on location, he was like holding the Raider flag or whatever, and he's like, they announced the pick, and he's like, "Yeah."
Yeah, and I knew who he was too. And that's what's funny is you see some people that are there just as fans,
right?
And they don't study it as much as we do. They
Correct.
Don't know.
Yeah.
Speaking of which we did meet a lot of know-it-alls now that
We did.
are
It
know-it-alls
was pretty
here,
cool.
Joe. A bunch of guys joined the group, and that
cool.
was great and fun talking about that.
Definitely.
But Clellan Farrell, he was number 1 on Drew Boylehart's edge rusher list.
That's right.
So he had him rated high. So he saw something in this guy, too, as well, that maybe the Raiders did, too.
And it's funny because Mike Mayock, you bring up Drew Boylehart, who had him rated as the number 1 pass rusher or defensive end or whatever. Mike Mayock, he kind of revealed something to us after the draft was all said and done. He said that he had Clellan Ferrell rated right up there with Nick Bosa. He had Nick Bosa 1 and Clellan 2. So obviously they thought very highly of him, and they were right. The reports were absolutely right when they said a surprise pick, and that's what it was all along. I do believe also, too, much like some of the other teams, they wanted to trade down. I think the Raiders were looking to trade down, but as reports tell us that the phone wasn't ringing. Nobody really wanted to trade up to that spot for any particular player, even though Josh Allen was there. I think a lot of teams thought that the Raiders were going to take Josh Allen. They honestly thought that. I thought it was going to be Ed Oliver or Josh Allen. I would have been happy with both. I'm still okay with the pick, but again, you can't prejudge it. Let's wait and see what happens. He's going to start this year. We're going to start to see what he can bring to this defensive line. Now, since Mack has been traded away, everybody's been saying, well, they need pass rush now because they don't have any, and they didn't have any after Mack anyway. You know what I mean? Or before Mack. Mack was the only pass rusher on that team together. So they've kind of compiled that trade when they traded away Mack and they traded away Amari Cooper. Now you have to wait and see how these picks pan out because there are multiple guys instead of just 1 or 2 people on your roster. Even though they're great players, I'll say Mack is. Amari Cooper is a good player, not great. So. Now we have to wait and see if these picks, fruit into anything, and if they do, maybe it balances out and it's not such a bad trade.
Right, and I agree with you there because you also hear the talk of there's a saying I think out there where you have a generational player, you keep that guy.
Right.
The way you look at it now, if you can get value in like 3 good guys for the equal amount of this one great guy, this one great guy isn't going to make that much of a difference for your team. He moved to the Bears, but the Bears already had a top 10 defense.
Top 10 defense.
Now they're number 1 defense.
Right.
But they also had other parts in play and making moves on offense, and got them better. A new coach too with Nagy and stuff. So I mean, they were just at the right time and making moves at the same time, making it happen. The same thing with the Odell Beckham Jr. They want to try to get value for what he is because this one guy isn't going to do it all for you. And much like the Patriots do, their solid guy is already their quarterback. Yeah. And you know what? He's not the highest paid quarterback. He's not being that anchor holding them down from doing this. He's not holding them ransom. And that's the problem sometimes when these agents get involved and the player just lets him handle it and they want to become the next highest paid guy. Well, you got to realize that you're also, holding down your team possibly to getting more valuable guys on board with you to get a championship.
That's right. That's absolutely right.
So here we go. And then looking at, say, their third pick that they got in the first round, you got Jonathan Abram as a safety. Again, they need help on defense and a bunch of other spots. They did great in free agency picking up guys. Yeah. Now they do it here in the draft, too, to help solidify that defense and get a running back now, too. So hopefully Derek Carr now can get things moving, stay healthy, and can show everybody maybe what the whole game plan here was for John Gruden.
Yeah, and it looks promising. I mean, they've made all those offensive additions to really kind of catapult this team to another step forward. And they're hoping by now that they've finally surrounded Derek Carr with weapons. I mean, you look at last year, they really didn't have wide receivers. Jordy Nelson, they managed to bring over, and they're like, oh, well, he's a veteran. Maybe he can help out. But he really didn't make a difference. He didn't. Nobody was worried on defense like, hey, we got to shift our coverage to Jordy's side. They kind of just still played straight up anyway. So, I mean, and nothing really kind of taken off. And that's even with Amari Cooper. Before he got traded. There was no real chemistry going on there with that whole receiving core. 1 week, Amari Cooper did well. The next week, it was Jordy Nelson. The week after that, nobody did well. It was really awkward. So now you come into the offseason, you add all these additions, and not just additions like, this is a guy, this is a guy. They bring in one of the best wide receivers in football right now, Antonio Brown. Mm-hmm. That's going to dramatically change the face of that offense. And on top of that, a lot of people claim that Tyrell Williams was the best receiver in free agency to be had, and they brought in him. Mm-hmm. Another surprise type of signing. So they've done their homework. They made their moves. Now the draft is over. It looks like they've had a good draft because it's not just the first round with those 3 picks, but also you look a little farther into the draft. A lot of people are kind of high on this Max Crosby. He's a defensive end out of a small school. Mm-hmm. The only question that he needs is strength, and that's easy.
Yeah,
you can add that in the NFL.
Yep.
All you're going to be doing is working.
Yep.
Working out, getting stronger. But they're expecting him to be a difference maker in the middle of the draft, as well as some of the other picks that they managed to grab late. We do know that they had a hole at tight end, with Jared Cook being gone, obviously.
Yep.
And there's a tight end out of LSU that they drafted, and they think that he could develop into a nice player for them because he can also block and go out for passes. So, I mean, they made good moves. They did their job. Now let's see how everything's got to come together. Bottom line, you had a lot of draft picks. You had a lot of movement in free agency, a lot of additions there. Now you have to bring all that talent together and somehow shape it, shift it until it fits perfectly to have a winning team. So let's see what they can do.
Yeah, and one other aspect I want to just point on, too, is when I watched the games visually, it seemed like to me Derek Carr, it's a lot of what I saw with Eli Manning. I think with some of the receivers, he just tended not to trust then. You know, where he was just like, well, you're not open, I don't see anything, and then he'd throw it away prematurely and live to fight another day instead of maybe trying to move out of the pocket, trying to see if they can get open and make a play. Instead, be like, well, I can't. They can't do nothing.
That's the thing with Derek Carr, too.
But now having Antonio Brown, hopefully now that he's got to be confident in Antonio Brown. So I think you're going to see a different Derek Carr this year just because of that.
And this goes back to the Pro Bowl. When Derek Carr went to the Pro Bowl a couple years ago, I believe, Antonio Brown was there at the same time. And they established a really good relationship. You know, they established a friendship. And since then, I think they might have started the whole networkings of, if anything happened, let's try to get together. You know what I mean? So Antonio Brown, you know, now he's joined up with Derek Carr. He's super ecstatic about it. And who wouldn't be, because he wanted out of Pittsburgh. You know, he wanted a new environment. He was really happy to go to Oakland, whatnot. And let's see if it all pans out. Now, real quick, I want to mention back on Jonathan Abram, the safety out of Texas A&M.
Yep.
He was rated the top safety coming out in this draft. The Raiders get him right at the tail end of the first round. And from what the Raiders say, that was their target. They wanted these 3 guys with those 3 picks. I think it would have been a little bit different if Montez Sweat was there with that second pick in the first round. I think they might have taken him, but who knows? But Jonathan Abram, they're saying he is going to be a difference maker for them, and to expect a lot of shifting on defense, because we do know that they just signed LaMarcus Joyner as well from the Rams.
Yes,
and they're thinking LaMarcus Joyner might be playing slot corner for them.
I like that.
So if you have Jonathan Abram back there with Carl Joseph and LaMarcus Joyner, one of the better, you know, flex safeties, he can also play that position at slot corner. That could work out. Could work out with a lot of additions that they made. They also made some controversial ones like Vontaze Burfict, bringing him from Cincinnati when he was available. You know, they have Brandon Marshall, plus a lot of youth that's already there. So I like yourself with the Giants. I am kind of
intrigued.
I'm intrigued, but I'm trying not to get too excited, because we all know what happens with Raider fans when you get excited, right? They end up having losing seasons. So I'm trying to temper my expectations, and I'm trying to just, sit back and just watch.
You know who's really excited about their upcoming season, where the team has made changes? Eric Hannman from 104.5 The Team, too.
Is.
We had a chance to talk to him earlier on, and he is a Jets fan.
Yes.
He's living in a household where they're Giants fans.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. But, it's worked out with them, and stuff, and they've learned to become a fan of both, and it's worked it out. But he was very excited about this upcoming season, and the Jets draft and everything else
That's
there
right.
too with what they
Yeah.
did. And
Okay.
so we had the opportunity to talk to him earlier on, and we're going to show you guys the interview and see how that played out. Enjoy it. We'll talk to you
Check
in a little
it
bit
out.
just after. Our guest tonight is from 104.5 The Team, ESPN Radio. He is the host for Sit and Sportside Sunday. It's 11 a.m. Eastern Time here. It's Eric Hannman. Eric, how are you tonight?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, no problem. No
Welcome.
problem.
Thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having us, or being on the show.
Having
here.
us.
Having us.
Or
See,
having
yeah,
you, yes.
yeah, whatever.
Both ways.
Here we go. Yeah, well, you said
Yeah.
when we talked earlier, you said that your dad now is a Giants fan, and somehow you were a Jets fan in this whole thing. I have sons, too, so I kind of figure out this dynamic here. You know, I want them to – I'm a Giants fan. I want them to be Giants fans, but then they're looking at the TV and seeing who's playing. They're like, no, I like these guys. I'm like, no, don't like them, you know.
Yeah.
But you also root for the Giants, too. So what's the story behind that? How did you become a Jets fan?
Yeah, well, like you said, my dad's a Giants fan, so like I grew up. I think the first jersey I ever had was a Jeremy Shockey, so I was rooting for the
Nice.
Giants. Then I had this video game for N64 that had Curtis Martin with the Jets. I think it was his first year with the Jets, and so I just loved playing with Curtis Martin and grew up. And then basically I started rooting for the Jets. My dad had a Martin jersey, and basically a Jets fan that roots for the Giants, and my dad's a Giants fan that roots for the Jets. The way I look at it is we're not really rivals. We play once every 4 years, so I look at it as like I'm a rare. I feel I'm a rare fan that does that, but that's how it works out.
So what's funny too is in the last 10 years ago, maybe the last 10 years, the Giants have been on the upper end of some of this and that, in the household there. They've won 2 championships with Eli Manning, but now it looks like the Jets are starting to, regain some of this power back and maybe be the talk of the town in the Meadowlands now as well. So how does the Snoopy Bowl even go for you guys? You guys even pay attention to that because it's a preseason, or is you just have fun together and just drink and?
Yeah, no, definitely the latter. Just to see how the teams are shaping up. I think it's more of an analysis of like what are these players going to be for the team. When it happened during the year when the Giants won their Super Bowl, this is the game that really in my lifetime has been the biggest difference. Is when the Giants won their second Super Bowl. That was the game where the Jets were competing for the playoffs and they lost to the Giants. It was like a 99-yard Victor Cruz touchdown game, which was really defeated the Jets' chances of making the playoffs that year. And so that was a tough year for me, but I said to my dad, all right, you guys beat us, so you guys better win the Super Bowl this year. And obviously they went on to beat the Patriots for the second time, so it worked out kind of well.
Mm-hmm. Now, is that even sweeter for you now, too, that the Giants, when the Giants do go, they beat the New England Patriots? I mean, is that a little extra that feels good,
1,000% extra. I mean, like, just the way you do it against the Patriots, to see them go down against the Giants. Well, anyone that beats the Patriots, I guess at this point.
Yeah,
awesome,
I was just thinking that as you were saying it. I'm like, yeah, kind of everybody I think does who wants like at least the Patriots lost again. So, oh man. But all right, so now your senior dad is a Giants fan. Now, how does he feel about the Daniel Jones pick? I mean, did he watch the draft at all, and how does he feel about that?
I think he kind of tuned in afterward. Picking was kind of in the lab. He's like, first he's like, what quarterback at 6? He was very surprised. And I think we all were, why are you getting in at 6? He's a second-round quarterback. That's the initial reaction. And he definitely was expecting to have a guy like Jonathan Allen on the board, and a lot of things have been said about him out of Kentucky. So there's what are they doing type of thing going on here.
All right. Did we lose you? Did we lose him again? It was choppy.
He's
can you hear us?
choppy. Can you hear us still?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay.
I got you. Yeah.
All right. So it was a little choppy, but okay.
That's all right.
Yeah, so that's our opinion too. Kind of when it first happened, we posted the video of our reaction on our Facebook page too, on our group page. We were all kind of in shock too, but mainly like what you said. At 6 overall, do you go for that? Is the right value? But we also heard the murmurings that maybe some other teams wanted him, Miami, the Redskins possibly. So if that's your guy, you have to go up and get that guy, right?
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, obviously Gettleman's going to say what he has to say to make it seem worthwhile. I think that where you look at the Giants wanted this guy and they got him, and I look at it more of if Dexter Lawrence, obviously if Josh Allen is the linebacker, of course, is something. It's not going to look great, but if hindsight is 20/20 and we look at Dexter Lawrence and and Pat Shermer compared him to Linval Joseph. If he comes anywhere close to what Linval Joseph was at 17, and Daniel Jones is obviously comes through, this will be irrelevant. The losing our minds about the pick would be irrelevant because you got a really good player at 17 and Jones panned out. So it's all about getting your guy, and it makes sense. It makes sense if that's what they want, but it's like the Hackenberg thing with the Jets of like he wasn't a second rounder, and then the consensus here was he really wasn't even a first rounder. So that's where the frustration definitely comes in.
Yeah, and you talk about getting your guy. So that I really believe the Jets got their guy in Quinnen Williams. What's your opinion on Quinnen Williams? And they were he just kind of fell into their laps there at 4 or 3. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, Mike McCagnon kind of had this luck of getting some of these players kind of fall in their laps, like you said. Jamal Adams before, I believe he was there for the Leonard Williams pick, but it just seems that the Jets kind of fall, like the best player available falls to them. And there was some talk about them trading the pick, but this is a guy they definitely needed, in the middle. And it sounds like, Greg Williams is going to stick with the 3-4 that the Jets had been going with before. So obviously you stick him right there in the middle, and the nose tackle, and I think that's perfect for what the Jets needed. They needed someone who could get to the quarterback too. And if you look at him at Alabama, not only he leads the NCAA in tackle for losses, but he also can get to the quarterback. So that's something the Jets really need. They're still looking for an edge rusher that can really get things done there. But it's perfect.
So in the third round, the Jets end up selecting Polite, the DN from Florida. Now, do you think he will have enough to be a starter on the DN side and be that pass rush you're looking for the Jets?
I got to say, when the Jets made that pick, my friend, who's a big Florida fan, texted me and said, "You got to." Yeah, he said you got a great guy right there. He said he's a horse. He's going to get things done. So I get that reaction from someone who's watched him for probably his entire collegiate career, every single game. I love that reaction. Of course, there's some bias there, but I think I think you kind of hope you can get some value, and I do think that he looks good in some of the videos that I've watched. But time will tell. But yeah, I do think that there's still a sense of maybe they can go out and get. I think Ziggy Ansah is still available. There's maybe that 1-year deal they could get for the DN position and to see if they can do something there. But I think that we're holding our breath with the Leonard Williams situation in terms of, like, okay, we have him this year. What's the future going to be? But as long as you have him this year, how are we going to utilize him? And then the rookie out of Florida, as a backup, and hopefully he turns into something.
So we've seen what the Jets have done this offseason. Now we've seen what they have with their draft picks, who they selected. In the end, do you think that they still have the right offensive line to help block for Le'Veon Bell?
I think it's still up in the air, right? I think they got the guy. They traded up for the guy from USC, whose name slips my mind at the moment. But
Iboga, was that Iboga?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Idoga.
Right.
Yeah,
Idoga. Yeah, and I don't know. I think there's still some questions on the line. The center position's been up in the air. So, yeah, I don't know if Le'Veon Bell is going to have the best. I think it's more about protecting Sam Darnold because I'm obviously about Bell getting the right holes, and he's one of the more patient running backs.
Absolutely.
He really knows how to find the gap. So I'm more worried about keeping Darnold on his feet more than Bell per se. But yeah, definitely something that, like, both teams talking about the Giants too. Like, they need to get that line in set, and I'm hoping that the draft improved it and then trades improved it as well.
Excellent. Now, before when you were talking about the defense and what Greg Williams is intending, it sounds like you were excited about him. Now, Adam Gase is here. You're familiar with him because he was the coach of the Miami Dolphins. Now he comes along to the Jets. How do you feel about that hiring and now the team moving forward with him?
Well, when it first happened, it was, kind of, I think the Mark McCarthy was the big guy. I was like, okay, maybe we can bring in Mike McCarthy. He's a winner. He's been proven. But the reports are coming out. Adam Gase had a really good report and really good talks with Sam Darnold. Then you have Peyton Manning calling in, giving him a scathing, or not scathing, sorry, that's the wrong word, a glowing review. Glowing review. And it was like, okay, this is something that sounds good. And if the quarterback is the most important position on the offense, we all know that. If he's getting along with Gase, I like that hire. I think it can really work out. And then, of course, you get a running back like Le'Veon Bell. Any offensive coordinator's dream to have someone like that. So I'm excited. I'm bullish on what Gase can do, mainly because I was encouraged about what Darnold was at the end of last season, and that his rapport might carry into Gase this year.
Yeah, now with the draft coming along, and they didn't look at any of the wide receivers here. Now, do you think that was maybe something they should have targeted, or you're fine with the receivers that you have, and maybe they just will have a bounce back year now with Le'Veon Bell there in the backfield?
One of my fan favorites, of course, is I love Quincy Enunwa, what he could do all over the field, and especially in the slot. But Robbie Anderson, he's so up and down. So there's definitely players on that wide receiver. I was with Jermaine Kearse, there was enough there for me. And then Herndon, the tight end, I know he's suspended from the beginning of this season, but he had a terrific rapport with Darnold. So I do think that they might have. Obviously, when you look at it, you'd like to see them get another one. But you see them swing and miss on so many wide receivers like Devin Smith or Darius Stewart. So I'm not necessarily upset that they didn't target one in the draft. But I do think that they're missing that one upgrade. I know A.J. Green's name has been out there. Don't know. I think that ship might have sailed at this point with the draft being done. But, yeah, I'm a little with everyone else of okay, maybe one more receiver would have been nice, but I actually really love it. Like I said, I love Enunwa. Robbie Anderson, I think, when he's good, he's good. And then Herndon at the tight end position, I think there's definitely targets to go along with Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah, I really think for the Jets, the main thing that they got to concentrate on is hopefully they try to stay healthy. Yeah. Because Robbie Anderson throughout the season was getting banged up. Quincy Enunwa was banged up. Jermaine Kearse even got banged up. It seemed like it was like a rotating door of injuries. And I honestly believe, I think Robbie Anderson is more than just a deep threat. And I think that with Adam Gase coming in, hopefully he'll use him to his complete talents. Because, yes, he does have top-end speed, but I think he could be so much more in the intermediate and short routes. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you because what was frustrating last year was the consistency. We saw what he did with Josh McCown in games 2 seasons ago, and then this year got off to such a slow start, and then maybe was finding that rapport with Sam Darnold and knowing when they're going to be coming across the middle or whatnot. So, yeah, I agree with you. I do think that he can develop into maybe that next level of a receiver, and that's what I'm hoping for sure.
All right, with the addition of Le'Veon Bell now, and now they have their draft acquisitions, Sam Darnold having a season under his belt, well, a little bit because he did get injured for that little time. But how do you think the Jets now will fare this season, having all that extra experience now?
Yeah, I got to say, guys, I've been probably the highest on this team since the championship days. So we're talking 2011, 2012 going into the season. I've been, kind of floating along in the Bulls era of okay, what is this team going to be? But, the head coach, sure, what they've been able to begin with Bell, obviously Darnold I thought he looked really good down the stretch last season after coming back from that injury. So when you have that quarterback in the way he is, defense is, to me, I think the defense is just really good. I'm very, very high on what they've been able to do. I know there was calls for McCaffrey's job, but I think he's done a good job in this offseason. Even though he decided to go back to Minnesota, I think he did a really good job. And the one position I guess today I'm a little bit nervous about is the nickel corner. But other than that, I'm really looking at this team. I like basically all around, with the exception of the nickel corner. Probably the offensive line needs to get a notch better. But I'm really thinking that the Jets could really push the Patriots this season. I know it sounds crazy to say because of the dominance they've had, but I feel confident for the first time in a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's not to feel confident about? You already have Leonard Williams there on that D-line to really push up the middle. Now you bring in Quinnen Williams to kind of, like a tag team. They're going to come in there and they're all going to go after Tom Brady to get that push and get Brady off of his spot finally. But also going back to the defense, like you're bringing up, they're pretty damn solid there. And with a huge acquisition of C.J. Mosley being there in the middle is just absolutely critical for them. Also, do you ever have any inside scoop potentially on what the situation was with Anthony Barr and how he kind of backed out of his deal last second? He agreed to it and then just all of a sudden said, oh, nope, I think I'm going back to Minnesota.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's a buyer's remorse type of thing of oh shoot, I'm going to a new team,
right?
Maybe I feel more comfortable in Minnesota. I don't know. I wasn't. See, when I heard that they got Mosley, I was like, okay, I'm not that upset that Barr pulled out,
right? Right.
He's an outside linebacker that really didn't get a lot of sacks last year, so I was kind of like, okay, this is a guy who's not getting to the quarterback per se in terms of the sack category. I didn't necessarily look at the quarterback hits, but like I just looked at these stats. I'm like, this is the outside linebacker they're going to sign to that massive deal, and he's not getting to the quarterback as much as I would like that. You know what I mean? So I wasn't too upset, but yeah, I don't know. It was the change of the wind, maybe the breakfast he had that day. He was like, you know what, I'm going to change.
Yeah, and now you said you feel really confident about this upcoming season, and I know a lot of Jets fans have been, saying they can maybe challenge the Patriots, but you know what the Patriots do in the draft too? They find these guys that. They stock the picks. They find these guys that are hidden gems, and they try and reload. And they just got Austin Seferian-Jenkins too on the free agency. Sneakily, they're getting these guys.
I was shocked that he was still available.
Oh, I know.
To be honest.
You'd be shocked. Now they're looking at Valdir too. But now you look at the Bills too. Also, I know Goz was really high on Ed Oliver. He was begging for Ed Oliver for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It was funny, and he was just shocked. And then he goes to the Bills, and they also pick up Cody Ford in the second round for the offensive line, which needed help too.
What a great pick.
So those are two great picks for the Jets. Now, are you feeling maybe a little pressure for the Bills now? Being a Jets fan.
Yeah, going into the draft last year, Josh Allen was the quarterback I liked him the most. I'll say that. So obviously Mayfield and Darnold, I thought they were going to be decent. But actually, if I had to rank mine, Allen was number one, and he proved to me last year that he can be really good for the Bills. He ran a lot last year, which is surprising. And then look, there's and I've had a lot of I've been very impressed with what McDermott has done. I know they didn't do well last year, but that team has kind of gotten better under his tutelage. They obviously made the playoffs that 1 year. So when you get a little bit better, you get younger on that defensive line, right? You lose Kyle Williams, but you're getting Ed Oliver. So yeah, I'm definitely a little nervous about the Bills because I was kind of looking at them as a team that is on the rise as well. And when they have their good young quarterback playing well, I am a little nervous about the Bills for sure.
Well, it's definitely going to be an exciting division because now you have Josh Rosen in your division now too with the Dolphins. The Bills are up and coming. The Jets are making moves here. And are the Patriots really just going to hand over the reins? I don't think so. They're not going down without a fight. No matter what, even when people think they're on the downside, they still make it to the Super Bowl, and pull out a win. You know what I mean? So, it's tough here. We have Eric Hannman on the line here. He is the host of Sittin' Sportside Sunday. Now, Eric, why don't you tell us a little about that show? It's 11 a.m. Here in upstate New York. You can find it on 104.5 The Team, ESPN Radio, and the app. Tell us a little bit about that show and what's that about?
Yes, so extending of what 104.5 The Team is your home for New York sports. So, we'll have, you mentioned the Vac and Guys and Big Board Sports. You talk a lot of Capital Region sports, but of course the teams that are local to us, right? Yankees, Mets. So I still focus on those teams, Jets, Giants, Bills, that we talk about all here. The Nets and the Knicks. I'm a big Nets fan, so I was talking about them a little bit more than maybe the afternoon guys do. But for sure, we're also your home for Yankee baseball. So especially in this season, we're taking you up to, if the Yankees are playing at 1 o'clock that day, the John and Susan's pregame goes on at 12:25, so we'll take you to that pregame show. We usually recap the Yankee week and look ahead to the future Yankee week. So it's a lot of talk on Yankee baseball, but then also getting into more of, obviously with the draft, anything that's relevant to the Capital Region Sports 104.5 The Team app. You can download that as well. It's just an extension of Capital Region Sports.
Excellent. Well, it sounds good. We appreciate you being on here with us tonight. Thanks for all the insight on the Jets and everything, and we'll be sure to check out your show. It is Sittin' Sportside Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern on 104.5 The Team, ESPN Radio, and you can also check it out on the app. I have the app. I love the app. You get updates for everything, Joe.
Yeah.
So we appreciate it. Thanks a lot, Eric, and we'll talk to you next time.
Thanks, Eric. Have a good one.
I really appreciate you guys having me. Thank you.
No problem. Take care.
Bye.
All right, there's our interview with Eric Hannman from 104.5 The Team, ESPN Radio. There he is. Wow, see, I was hitting the wrong knob right there, Josie. It's making
Were you?
Yeah. All right. So, yeah, there he goes. He had a lot to say about the Jets. He's very excited about the Jets. It was funny when I brought up the Bills and the Dolphins, and he was like, oh, yeah, those guys. He kind of forgot about, the firepower that they're kind of loaded up now, too. The Dolphins sneakily, like I said, jumped in there, got the Josh Rosen trade done. And
good for them.
Yeah, making moves all together for them. So, he had a lot to say, so and check out his show on 104.5 The Team ESPN Radio. It's Sundays at 11 a.m. Eastern, but they also have the 104.5 The Team app. You can check out Sittin' Sportside Sunday, I think it's called. Yeah, Sittin' Sportside Sunday. Eric Hannman.
There's a lot of S's in there.
Yeah, too many S's for me, especially for Sunday. And then, so there you go. It was great talking to him. Pleasure having him on the show, and we'll keep you posted on more with that. And he's a new know-it-all too. He joined the group tonight, Joe.
Yeah, he did.
So really appreciate him joining too as well. And so we'll get back into some more draft talk. But Joe, I'm going to kick us into high gear here. We'll get some headlines.
We're going into high gear, everybody.
Yes, we're going into the drop.
This is the drop.
Buccaneers, not Broncos. Buccaneers pick up corner Vernon Hargraves, fifth-year option. So he'll be staying yet another year with the team. And we all know that they really do need help at corner. So why not keep what's there? The Bills have declined the fifth-year option on DN Shaq Lawson's contract, according to Mike Garafolo of the NFL Network. This doesn't come as a surprise, though, because we've heard rumors in the past year of maybe moving on from Lawson in a trade or something like that. So not a surprise. The Tennessee Titans reportedly aren't planning to pick up a fifth-year option on the rookie contract of offensive tackle Jack Conklin, per Adam Schefter, which I'm a little perplexed about that. I'm a little confused. He's a really good right tackle for the Tennessee Titans. Do they not plan on keeping him around? I don't know. It's a real odd. The Minnesota Vikings elected not to pick up the fifth-year option on wide receiver Laquan Treadwell's rookie contract, which it makes sense. I mean, he hasn't really done anything. They drafted him high. He hasn't produced. Got it. Time to move on. Mm-hmm. The Houston Texans have picked up the fifth-year option of wide receiver Will Fuller the fifth, his contract, according to John McClain of the Houston Chronicle. We all saw that coming. So he'll be back for yet another season. The Jaguars exercise corner Jalen Ramsey's fifth-year option. Now, this is intriguing because we all heard last season a little bit of rift between Jacksonville, the front office, the coaching staff, and Jalen Ramsey. Mm-hmm. Ramsey showing his displeasure of being on the team. Some were thinking that he may be traded, even in this draft at times. But yet again, they still make the decision to keep him around for yet another year. Now, you can't deny his talent. He is one of the premier corners in the league. So maybe that's the whole decision. But if that is really the only thing that you're holding on to is because he's a good corner to keep him around, you better hope he doesn't stir the pot a little bit more while he's in Jacksonville.
Absolutely.
Eagles re-signed D-tackle Tim Jernigan to a one-year deal, keeping him there with the Eagles as a rotational piece for them. The Kansas City Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes was announced as the cover athlete of Madden 20, everybody.
All right.
Everybody was wondering who was going to end up on the cover. I didn't think it was very much a surprise, especially with the year that Patrick Mahomes had. Pretty amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's just see if the curse looms in.
That's right. That is absolutely right. Now, does he have a bad year, or does he get injured? Or does he break the curse?
There you go.
Kansas City Chiefs, we're going to stay in Kansas City right now. The Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver Tyreek Hill has been suspended from all team activities after an audio recording reportedly made by his fiancée, Crystal Espinal. It was made public Thursday by KCTV 5.
Yeah, it's funny with that whole thing. That was going to be dropped all of a sudden, it looked like, and then now the audio tape comes
now
through.
Because the audio came out, the Johnson County District Attorney's Office has reopened the case against the Chiefs wide receiver and his fiancée. The audio does confirm that there's a discussion between his fiancée and Tyreek about the son's broken arm and about the use of beating him with a belt. So that's child abuse right there, brother.
Yeah, and I think he even threatens her in the audio too as well. So I mean, it's very damning.
And he definitely threatened his fiance, saying, I'm not going to say it.
Yeah.
No, I am going to say it. You better be scared of me, bitch.
Yeah.
Because he said, and he that's a threat. So he threatened the fiance. He's beating his son. I think it's a very rough road ahead for Tyreek Hill. Mm-hmm. And if I was the NFL, now that this has come out, you cannot let this guy in the league. You can't allow him to play. If you kicked out Ray Rice years ago for a video of him punching his girl in the face, then you got to do something about it right now.
Yep.
Kyler Murray he made history by being drafted. But not just being drafted by the NFL. He also was drafted by the MLB as a first overall pick. And because of that, he made history as the first to ever be selected by both the MLB and the NFL as the number 1 overall pick. I don't know if that's ever going to happen again because that's pretty, I don't think it's ever going to happen. Unfortunately, Washburn football player Dwayne Simmons was killed, and New York Giants draft pick Corey Ballantyne was injured in the shoot-off on off-campus. The school announced Sunday. Almost became a, unbelievable, shocking. This is pretty surprising, but we feel for the family and the friends of Dwayne Simmons out there. Prayers are all sent out to you guys. But what a scare for Corey Ballantyne to be so close that, he just got injured, but his one of his good friends next to him ended up being shot and killed. It's a pretty sad moment for everybody involved. Like I said before, prayers and concerns all go out to you, and we wish for a speedy recovery for Corey. Unfortunately, Dwayne Simmons, it's a really tough moment right now for them. Ex-Raiders Seahawks kicker Sebastian Janikowski retires after 19 seasons, and this is a guy who was a pretty darn good kicker his whole career. The funny stat is, in the article that I read, the funny stat is that he made the most money in the history of the NFL at that position, first of all. And second of all, he is in the top 10 for points in the NFL history, which is another pretty amazing thing. So,
all the kickers that are in there for points, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. The Philadelphia Eagles picked up the 5th-year option. We talked about him earlier for quarterback Carson Wentz, so he'll be staying there another year on a cheap salary. I just can't wait to see what they're going to have to pay him after the 5th year. Yeah. Ex-Chiefs running back Jamal Charles is retiring, everybody. So he ended up going to the Kansas City Chiefs facility and getting one last handoff as kind of a one last send-off for Jamal Charles, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. He deserves it.
Yeah. Denver Broncos outside linebacker Von Miller will serve as, get this, a lifestyle correspondent for NBC's coverage of the 2019 Kentucky Derby at Churchill Downs in Louisville.
What does that even mean, lifestyle correspondent?
I'm not really sure.
Lifestyle? What is it?
Listen, I think it's just a luxury type title because it's the Kentucky Derby. I think he's just going to be a correspondent, all in all. He's just going to be there. He's going to talk about the horses. He's going to talk about, just kind of like a color commentator.
Maybe does he own his own horses or something? Does he race these things, or I don't know? Lives part of the lifestyle? Is that what they mean?
Von Miller is a country boy through and through. He actually has his own farm where he lives. So, he has pigs, he has chickens, he has horses, he has it all.
All right.
So
excellent.
Little backstory on Von Miller. If you didn't know that.
Now you know.
And be in the know with football on the know.
That's right. Educational.
Follow us on Twitter to get all the latest and greatest updated content at FB_know. Also, if you haven't done so already, please, friends, family alike, if they do enjoy football, have them follow us on Facebook as well as YouTube. We are now on YouTube. We are updating stuff constantly up there. Football on the Know Show. Smash the subscribe button. Hit the notification bell button to get all the updated content that we do as we upload it. Back to the drop.
There we go.
The Oakland Raiders running back Isaiah Crowell is reportedly expected to miss the entire 2019 season after suffering a torn ACL during a team workout Monday, according to ESPN's Adam Schefter. And with that, everyone's, they're making it a big deal, but like they already had 4 running backs on the roster.
Mm-hmm.
Josh Jacobs, we all know him. He's coming over as a rookie, going to probably most likely be the starter. So I really don't know, how big of a news that is. Anthony Booger McFarland will join Joe Tessitore in the booth for ESPN's broadcast of Monday Night Football this season, replacing Jason Witten. And it's funny because on our group I said, well, as long as he stays on his leaning tower of wheels, because I really enjoyed, him kind of being unstable while he was talking and everything, and how that thing was moving. Now I guess he's going to be up in the booth with Joe. I want to know who's going to be replacing.
They got rid of the Booger Mobile. That's the thing. A lot of people complained about it. They did not like it, especially people that are there at the games. The things traveling from and it gets their view all screwed up and things like that.
Whatever. I guess every good thing has to come to an end.
Yeah.
The Oakland Raiders are re-signing running back Doug Martin, according to the NFL Network's Mike Garafolo and Steve Weish. Again, I don't understand. Obviously Correll's hurt, but you had 4 running backs. Now you bring in a 5th, a veteran 5th. I don't see Doug Martin sticking around. Don't know what the point is of the signing. The Washington Redskins will not pick up the 5th-year option of wide receiver Josh Doxson. No surprise there, everybody. We know that he's had his ups and downs with that team and hasn't been the answer since they drafted him.
Yep.
And that is it for the drop.
That's it for the drop. Boom. All right. Excellent. A lot of news there. A lot of just picking up their 5-year deals and things like that, too.
5th-year options all day long.
Yeah, all day long on that one. All right. And not too bad of news, except for the Tyreek Hill situation, which is pretty tragic. Now that I've become a father and things like that, you've been a father for a while.
Yeah.
It's tough. When you have kids, you get a different point of view about everything. And for something like that, I've been upset with my child before, and you have certain punishments, but going far like that's just ridiculous. That's inexcusable. And he should be on the exempt list and getting, like you said, never be able to play football again.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we'll see what happens going further with that. And
doesn't the NFL have a big enough black eye by now? Don't you want to?
Is that the right thing to say though? Oh man,
shouldn't they? I mean, they should definitely do something about it and stick to their guns.
Yeah,
you can't.
Absolutely.
This was bad PR before this came out.
Mm-hmm.
The whole announcement of Tyreek Hill being under investigation for child abuse and that sort of thing. Before the audio recording came out, that was another bad thing on the NFL. Every time something like this happens, I think the NFL, at times, because of the caliber of the player that is in the league, they kind of go a little bit more lenient on them. And that's what it feels like, because they didn't really take it. I don't think they took it super seriously until now that the audio recording has been released, until now that they have proof. Mm-hmm. Now they're going to take it serious. Well, I understand there's due diligence, there's a process to go through, but you don't. Not everybody is crying wolf. There's got to be a reason behind a situation that comes up with a player of that magnitude. Mm-hmm. So don't sweep it under the rug. Take it serious until you find out all the information. Mm-hmm. And I wonder how much information they had with this whole. Because if they were publicly going to release the audio, you can't tell me that the NFL didn't have that already. Mm-hmm. Come on.
Yep. And it seems like even before they might have dropped the ball with the Adrian Peterson thing when he was getting in trouble for, hitting his child too as well.
At least he didn't break his kid arm.
No, but still, I mean, and he was allowed to play still. So maybe they learned from their first try and they can, suffer harsher consequences for this now too. So moving forward, go talk about the draft some more. We talked to Eric Hannman. He loves the Jets.
He also follows love the Jets. He's so excited
too. He's excited about the upcoming season. Hopefully everybody can stay healthy. He's excited about Le'Veon Bell there and the options. He's a big Quincy
could you not
Enunwa
be?
fan,
Yeah.
which we've been too. But again, it's whenever he
Healthy.
can be on the field. Yeah,
got to stay healthy.
Absolutely. So talking about somebody that can also be healthy and be productive on the field. We think about Devontae Parker and now the Miami Dolphins too. We like the weapons that they have there, and now that they have Ryan Fitzpatrick there, and they do the trade for Josh Rosen. I mean, this is a great opportunity for Miami to get that fresh start with a new head coach. Josh Rosen gets out of Arizona, doesn't have to deal with that headache anymore in the Kyler Murray business. And, it's going to be, they're going to set it up here. Some people think, even on, I think, NFL.com, they said that Fitz might be opportunity to lose his job. I don't think he's going to get traded. I think he's going to be more of that, stick with Rosen. There might be a quarterback battle in the preseason or so, and whoever wins out, takes the reins here. But, Fitzpatrick can also take this as being a mentor for Josh Rosen, too, as well. He's been in the league long enough, and he's a super smart, bright guy. So Miami is in a nice opportunity here, too, with the weapons they have grabbed, too, to make a push, too, for that division to where the Jets fans think that they're just going to overthrow the Patriots now overnight, and the Patriots are just on the downfall, which I don't see that coming either. Yeah, easy. Because also I mentioned to him, you got the Buffalo Bills, too. But what do you think about the Dolphins, Joe?
Well, the Dolphins, they're under new leadership now. Brian Flores ends up taking the head coaching job, a former Patriot coach. And we already know that through the little bit of history that we know, with the Detroit Lions, with Matt Patricia, with Mike Vrabel, with the Tennessee Titans, they know how to beat the Patriots. So maybe Brian Flores coming from the Patriots is going to continue the tradition of being a new head coach. Maybe he has the blueprint to beat the Patriots not once but twice with a not as stout, talented roster as some people may think. They do have some talent there that nobody really talks about. We talked about it off camera about Albert Wilson, wide receiver who came from the Chiefs. He was a guy that was utilized as like one of those slot receivers for the Chiefs to move the chains, to make a difference, to offset matchups, and did a really good job. Gets a job with the Dolphins. I think he's going to play great into whatever offensive system that they implement. Now, you bring up the whole deal that they managed to get their future quarterback now. Their franchise quarterback is Josh Rosen, and for a fraction of the price. Are you kidding me? We already had speculation that nobody was going to give up a first rounder, and that didn't happen. We already knew that was going to happen. But if you're getting your franchise quarterback for a second, a third, whatever, I forgot what they gave up, but they didn't give up much. That's a home run all day long. So, and with Josh Rosen, he's not the most mobile guy, but he can make all the throws. He has a strong arm. He is accurate. He is super smart. If he can get protection, and we all know that Arizona had no protection there. That offensive line was a sieve. It was absolutely terrible. But with Miami Dolphins' offensive line, they got some youth on that offensive line. They're not that bad. They are decent. If they can give him just an extra second, I think he's going to be throwing the ball over the field. I think, you bring up Devontae Parker. Now, his main issue, they drafted him in the first round, but his main issue has always been injuries. He's been riddled with injuries throughout his career. But when he's healthy, he does make a difference. We saw towards the tail end of that season last year, when he was healthy, he actually made a difference. He was getting over 100 yards on 6 catches at one time and a touchdown. He made a difference. But now you have Ryan Fitzy coming here, Fitzmagic, coming from Tampa, going to Miami, and all signs point to him being the starter week 1. I think that because he's a veteran, because he has all that experience and everything, I think, like you were saying, he could be the best mentor for Rosen coming in. And I think Rosen needs that. I don't think it's on a playing ability. I don't think it's, being able to digest the playbook type of thing or the X's and O's. I think it's more about how to be a professional quarterback in this league day in and day out, how to handle yourself. I think he already does a phenomenal job. We saw with Arizona, him being traded and everything. He has such great confidence in himself that he said, go ahead and trade Kyler Murray, because if I'm staying here, I'm going to beat him out for that job no matter what. You're going to basically take a number 1 overall pick to be as a backup. That's how confident he was in himself. So now going to Miami, I think it's going to be amazing for him. I think it's going to work out tremendously for the Dolphins. They do have insurance in Ryan Fitzpatrick there, and there's no rush to play Rosen. I think they want to, but I think it's going to come down to this. I expect Fitzpatrick to be the starter, but I think if Rosen is able to – now listen, they're both coming in fresh. So both of these quarterbacks – they're both getting a new playbook that they have to learn. They're both getting new teammates that they have to develop chemistry with, new receivers, and all that. So they're all on the same slate. There's no difference, really. Yes, he's a vet, but at the same point in time, they're all starting from the starting line. So let's see where it goes. If Rosen is right there with Fitzpatrick the whole way, you could see Rosen start this year with the Dolphins. He already has a year in the league. So it's not like he's a rookie coming in, essentially. So I really do. I believe that it's going to be an open quarterback competition. I do suspect that Fitzpatrick will win it because of experience. However, if Rosen's right there on his coattails, they might just give the ball to him week 1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's something to look forward into. And also, talking about the Dolphins, we were really high on Mike Gesicki, and I was hoping he would do a little bit better last year. I'm excited here to hopefully he can get more involved in the offense this year, and I think that's another weapon that he's had there that hasn't been tapped. So hopefully Josh Rosen, again, that he didn't have weapons. Last year he had, Christian Kirk, I think it was, and then, Larry Fitzgerald still. I mean, and that's it.
Yeah, Larry Fitzgerald, he had Christian Kirk, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So,
I mean, that's what you get. And you couldn't run because the offensive line was so bad. So then David Johnson couldn't get involved, so that wouldn't lessen anything or help you out a little bit.
Listen,
one-sided.
They should have just used David Johnson as a receiver at that point.
And what's funny is because even with the turnovers, people want to look at his stats. If you look at it, it's overall not too bad if you look at what he did.
No.
And I don't know. I still got to bring up my hatership. Maybe people want to jump on me, but Marcus Mariota has an offensive line, and he didn't do much better. I don't think he did better.
But okay.
So,
yeah,
I'm just saying.
That's fine.
If people want to just slam Josh Rosen, nobody's looking at him. So.
I mean, yeah, but you also got to remember, too, is Marcus Mariota is one of those guys. He's had a new offense almost every single year. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate for him because he really hasn't been able to show what he can do because of the constant changes. Mm-hmm. And now Rosen, here's already a change for him. So now he's got to start all over again. He's got to forget about that offense that he learned before. He's got to learn a completely new one now with new teammates, new team altogether, new organization. Let's see how it all pans out. But the Dolphins, I do like where the Dolphins are headed right now. I mean, I think they still have talent on that team. And they are rebuilding. Mm-hmm. Don't let anybody fool you. Don't let any Dolphins fans out there. I know you're like, hey, wait, we got a chance. Listen, everybody is excited about their respective teams coming up to this season. Everybody is, because there's draft picks involved. There's new additions that you might have made in free agency, and everybody's high on their team. Because guess what? Everybody starts at the same right now, 0-0, everybody.
Yeah.
So what's not to like? But they do. They have a better offensive line than the Arizona Cardinals. I think that's going to give Rosen time if he is the quarterback. And let's see what they do. They got some untapped talent there down in Miami. So the defense is going to get better too. Mm-hmm. They got a little bit more youth with Christian Wilkins, who I think is one of the best D tackles that you could draft in this draft. He's a beast. He can pass rush. He can play the run. He can do everything. So.
Yeah, shout out to Cynthia Blair joining us tonight. She is one of our biggest supporters and know-it-alls out there, so she's joining in watching us right now. down in Florida too. So maybe there's exciting stuff going on there. Her son is a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan.
Okay.
Now, so he's got to be excited about having
Absolutely.
Devin White down there.
Yeah.
And that even brings up a point to it. Some people where they're a fan of a team, but then they move to a certain location, don't get an opportunity to watch their team so much.
Right.
So then they go with the home team that's there. He's a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, but he struggled to try and watch the games, had the red zone NFL ticket here or there. But then now he supports the Bucs, and they've got some crazy turmoil going on there. But I like the pick with Devin White. I called it with Gaz. We were texting back and forth. He really wanted Ed Oliver, but they get Devin White like I suspected, and it's a great move to help out Levante David with that defense.
Yeah, and we both were really sure that Devin White was the unquestioned pick. We both know that our buddy Gaz from ESPN 104.5, the team, he really, really wanted Ed Oliver. And
so much so that he said if they draft him, he's going to be so excited.
Yeah.
He's going to impregnate his wife, and their baby's going to be on the way. And who knows? Maybe he'll be called Ed Oliver Gozlowski. Who knows? Maybe. I don't know. Edward Oliver Gozlowski. Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds
what
like
if
a good
it's
name.
a girl?
I don't know.
Edie?
I don't know. But yeah,
it's funny. But yeah, he really wanted Ed Oliver so badly, and I'm like, why? Why do you want Ed Oliver so bad? He's like, dude, he's a freak. And I'm like, yeah, I understand, but Devin White to me, and this is what I told him. I said, Devin White to me on college tape, through watching him in the combine and the pro days and that sort of thing, he does remind me like of a Ray Lewis type of caliber player. I think he could develop into that type of a stud. And if you're getting a Ray Lewis-esque type of player, you take him whenever you can. So I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers hit a home run in this draft.
Absolutely.
You also look at their late pick later that they had in the third round, I believe, was Greedy Williams, the corner. And
which they need.
No, not Greedy Williams. I take that back. Byron Murphy in the top of the second round they took, who I thought was the best corner in the draft.
Right.
So it just works out. You know, the Arizona. No, I'm sorry, I'm getting confused. Arizona Cardinals took Byron Murphy with the set.
Greedy Williams went to the Cleveland Browns.
And Greedy Williams went to the Cleveland Browns. That's right.
Yep.
But Tampa Bay, I think they did a great job in their draft. You know, Devin White is just a home run altogether. Everything else is just extra ammunition. So that I think is a tremendous pick for them. I think you couldn't turn that down. And to be honest with you, I actually thought the Raiders were going to take him. I thought that was going to be the surprise pick because nobody tagged him with taking a linebacker. So I would not have been upset if it was Devin White because I was so high on him, but we were both high on him. It just fell to them. He just fell to them.
Yeah.
So
that's the way it goes, and that's what I mean. You got to take it.
Just move on.
But thinking about it, they had drafted some guys who were supposed to be taking over the spot for Doug Martin here to get the running game going. They never really got it. You never really saw the guy become, never saw the true starter there, who they were going to really have last year. We're going to be talking about the Buffalo Bills here. Now, somebody that might be on the chopping block. With the addition, now, they have 8 running backs here, the Buffalo Bills do, including a veteran in Frank Gore. Now, what are they doing with Shady McCoy now? Are they afraid now? There's too many injuries that he's got. They maybe dump him if they get some value for him right now. Maybe he goes to Tampa, to get something while they can get some of the younger guys going, a little two-headed option kind of there for Tampa Bay. But the Buffalo Bills making moves in the draft. They grab Ed Oliver, great value pick there too, and also strengthen the line by getting Cody Ford. So 2 great picks there for the Buffalo Bills, and they're in a nice spot. Also having Cole Beasley they added. Zay Jones came around last year, finally showed up, and John Brown they also have now. So Josh Allen, second year, he's got the weapons. He's got multiple running backs now in T.J. Yeldon, Frank Gore, and they just drafted Devin Singletary. So the Bills are on the move too. So even when they're a team where you thought that maybe some of they unloaded some guys that maybe they're all of a sudden hitting the reset button after they make the playoffs for the first time in 10 or 11 years was it or so? Yeah. And you thought maybe it was a rebuild. They're maybe in a reset, not so much of a rebuild, but a reset in a sense. But they've got enough ammunition; they can make a run. But also, Again, there's a lot of buts here. Those darn Patriots. You can't get too. I know the Buffalo Bills fans are like this, and same thing with the Jets fans, and that's why they get excited, and they don't want to get too excited though, because they've seen this happen before, and they know that the Patriots are in this division. And just like everybody else, other teams in the NFL, and all of us fans, we know we just can't get rid of those Patriots, no matter how hard we try. So this could be one of the most interesting divisions to watch this year.
Absolutely. Let's go take it back a little bit here for the Buffalo Bills. The one glaring need that they had last year was wide receiver. Mm-hmm. Their defense is a really good defense. Mm-hmm. You look at now, Kyle Williams, who just retired from that defensive line, and they go ahead and they're able to add another beast of a D lineman in Ed Oliver to replace him. Oh, my God. But on top of that, we all know that they needed major help on that offensive line. Cody Ford, are you kidding me? In the second round? Mm-hmm. How is he still there?
Yeah.
He's a first-round talent.
That's the other deficiency they had last year.
And it just happened to slide down into the second round because everybody was all hopped up on defense in the first round. There was a lot of defensive players taken in the first round alone. And we all know coming into this draft that it was heavily favoring that defensive side of the ball. There was a lot of prospects on there, a lot more than there was offensively that were considered great prospects. And that's why it pushed a lot of the other positions or skill players down into either the bottom of the only wide receiver that got taken in the first round this year was Marquise Brown, who we thought can develop into being the best receiver out of this draft. Mm-hmm. But he got picked number 30 in the first round. So that just goes to show you how much talent was there, but it got all pushed into the later rounds. Pretty amazing. Cody Ford would have been a top 15 pick any other draft as an offensive lineman. He's insane. Mm-hmm. But man, I tell you right now, I am really hyped up for the Buffalo Bills right now. The GM for I think his name's Brandon Beane, right? Mm-hmm. I think the GM for the Bills, he's really doing a great job orchestrating the draft, orchestrating players in and out to fit their team. And they hit on major needs. I mean, they really did a fantastic job this offseason. And I'll tell you right now, with Cody Ford starting at offensive line, with Ed Oliver now replacing Kyle Williams, a lot of feelings there. And you look at the major need they had was wide receiver. He had no talent. Mm-hmm. Josh Allen had nobody to throw to. You talk about Kelvin Benjamin, who they traded for. Mm-hmm. He ended up being a wash. He was terrible. He couldn't get open. Mm-hmm. Now Zay Jones, we bring up Zay Jones, how badly he was playing up to when Josh Allen took over. Josh Allen kind of resurrected his short career. He'd been there for 2 years and played like doo-doo. Now Josh Allen comes in there and he just starts throwing him the ball. And that's really what he needed. He needed some chemistry. He needed some reps, with the guy that's actually going to use him at receiver. And sure enough, he had pretty good games throughout the season. Not the whole season, but there was definitely games in throughout the season that you could pick and be like, wow, he had a really good game here, there. And now on top of that, you bring in some veterans like John Brown from Baltimore, who used to play for the Cardinals, has a lot of speed. Yeah, not a lot of height, but a lot of speed, great catching ability, can make tremendous route. He runs great routes. And then Cole Beasley from the Cowboys, a great slot receiver who's going to move the chains for the Buffalo Bills, who's going to be able – he's another guy. Runs great routes, catches well, has some speed. And those gold locks flowing in Buffalo, I'm telling you right now, he's going to be a difference maker for Josh Allen. Zay Jones is going to take another step forward, I believe. And with John Brown, a lot of teams are going to be worried about John Brown taking the roof right off the top. And going and pressing that defense deep down the field.
Yeah, like I
said, with those additions and the draft, as good of a draft as they had, I'll say right now, the AFC East is being put on notice right now with Buffalo because they're coming in with a already strong defense, which they added Ed Oliver, didn't really lose anything on that side of the ball, and now offensively, you added actual weapons all across the board for Josh Allen to throw to. on top of his mobility, good luck defenses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because when I was following the draft that night at Tacadio Burns, we went out and watched it here. We were watching the way it was falling, and the Detroit Lions pick came up. And I had a debate with one of our know-it-alls here, there, and I'm like, they thought they were going to go tight end because they usually do, and that's what they like to grab, this and this. And I was just hoping because I know also that the Bills, they would need a tight end. So I thought, and they were also high on T.J. Hawkinson, so I thought that was a nice fit for him there. Instead, the Lions go for T.J. Hawkinson, like he had said. They went for the tight end, so then he's not there. But again, the Buffalo Bills, to look back that far and still see Ed Oliver there, it was just a natural selection there, and what a great pickup there for him to fall in there.
I'm surprised.
With the weapons they still have, they grabbed the tight end late in the fourth round, and Dawson Knox. Get a little more depth there, but I like the wide receivers that they have. Like you said, strong defense. You've got Tre'Davious White, who looked like a beast last year, E.J. Gaines, so this is scary. Again, like you said, put it on notice. Automatically, the scenario people are running by is the Jets are giving the Patriots a run for their money now.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
It's a 3-horse race possibly here too.
I really
but
think,
again,
I
Belichick
do.
is Belichick and those Patriots. You got to watch what they're doing.
I really do like what the Bills have done up to this point. They have the quarterback. Now you surround them with receivers on top of having that defense that's so solid. Buffalo Bills gave a lot of those teams in the AFC East a run for their money last year, and they didn't have any weapons. Now that they do, I'm just saying it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be really, really tough for any teams to beat them right now. Even the Patriots. I think the Patriots are concentrating on teams like the Jets and the Bills right now, trying to develop game plans against them already, because they know that changes are coming.
Oh, you definitely know, Belichick's all over that. And but another team now I'm thinking of possibly that has a player who, I don't know if his job is in jeopardy, but again, there's questions to be had there and what they're going to do. We talked about earlier with the Washington Redskins how Case Keenum now is there. He used to be there with Denver. Didn't look so hot from his exciting year that he had with the Minnesota Vikings. Now you've got Joe Flacco in there, and he dealt with this with the Baltimore Ravens, where he's in there coming off an injury. He's the guy, but they go and draft a quarterback, with Lamar Jackson.
Right.
And now he's named a quarterback here to get his starting job back for Denver, and they grab Drew Lock in the second round. So he's going to be the heir apparent. We both think that Joe Flacco is going to be the starter again to start the season. We'll see where the season takes itself, but that's got to be tough for Joe Flacco too, with a guy coming in here and having him, the young guy there, still on his heels, and he's got to produce for this team. While he's there.
The one good thing that Joe has going for him is that it's the same scenario as the Miami Dolphins. You have a vet, you have a young guy. But they're both coming in at the same time. Neither one has an advantage over another, really, except for experience. Flacco has. But they both got to learn a new playbook. They both got to develop chemistry with the receivers. They both got to, see how well they work in this offensive scheme. So, in the end, it's going to be an open competition. I would expect. Just like the Dolphins, I think they're going to do the same thing in Denver. But because John Elway drafted them, you got to question it. You got to question it because how many times has this guy had an opportunity to grab a future quarterback? He's had several, but he's only drafted like maybe once or twice for a quarterback. You look at Brock Osweiler. Everyone thought that he was going to be the future. You look at Paxton Lynch. Everyone thought that he was going to be the future. Didn't happen. Now you're coming into the second round with Drew Lock. And what can you say? Okay, yeah, it's great. I think it's a good pick. I think he's definitely worth every bit of a second rounder. But is he, you just got to wait and see how he develops with this team. Another thing you got to think too is that does John Elway as a GM, is he not assembling a good enough staff to develop players? Because that's what it kind of seems like. No matter who they draft and stuff, it doesn't seem like they become superstars in a couple years. They're still kind of the same player they were when they were drafted. So, I don't know. His decision-making is faulty. You know me, Jim. I've been clamoring for this guy to be fired for so long, and he's just not going to be because he's a legend in Denver. And they don't want to dismiss that. So
well, the heads have been rolling slowly with this team. They finally the last one was Vance Joseph, so now they've got Vic Fangio in there.
But again, that's John Elway pointing the finger. Oh, that's the coach's fault, not mine, not mine, not mine. Well,
So
dude,
now
pretty soon. I mean, before Vance Joseph, he gave the guy 1 year to head coach, and then the second year, he's like, nope, it's not working. It's got to be him. It can't be every coach that you hire, John. You're the one that hired him. You hired him for a reason. This is the guy. He's going to take us to the promised land. We're going to get players in there, and he's going to develop them. You can't give a guy 2 years and say, adios, you're not working out. Eventually, everybody's got to see it. I already see it. John Elway's the problem. You know, whether it being making the decisions in free agency, whether it be drafting on draft day, he's the issue. And I think even if this Drew Lock pans out to the point of maybe being just a average quarterback, a guy that's good enough to start but not really, much like Trevor Siemian, you know, that's another John Elway guy. You know, didn't pan out. How often is this going to happen until the upper management is going to say, hey, you know what, John, we love you, but we need to change? I think it's got to happen sooner than later. I don't know if it will, but we'll have to wait and see. Will John get this one right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, those are some of the scenarios we've been looking at. Let's take a look at the Denver Broncos quick. They did grab another the right guard, Dalton Reisner, to help them out on the offensive line because they did struggle at times there, and that's where some of the problem was, you think. They do get a nice tight end in Noah Fant there. That was a nice pickup in the first round.
That's a great pickup, not a nice pickup. That's a great pickup.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I hate Denver for it because the Raiders got to deal with them now.
Yeah. So, I mean, that helps out, too, with getting another weapon here on offense because until last year, now you've got Cortland Sutton. You know, he was the guy that jumped on the scene, and he automatically jumped up to the front. Like, this is our guy now. Emmanuel Sanders, he's
aging.
That's the problem there. Yeah, he's been an issue at times, too, with that team.
He's still a good player. It's just that he got injured last year, so you got to put into question, you know, how much longer does he have? If this is the beginning stages of his body breaking down, is it not? I think the Broncos should try to maybe move on from him and get a younger piece in there.
Yeah. And now Philip Lindsay, too. That looked like that was a battle last year for who was going to take it. Maybe we thought at one point it was Royce Freeman's job, but Philip Lindsay shows up, and he's the guy. So another year with these two guys here.
Now you got to watch out for Freeman. I think now you really have to watch out for him. Now he has another offseason under him, and he's going to be healthy now because he got hurt, and I think that really paved the way for Philip Lindsay. And don't get me wrong, Philip Lindsay is a dynamic player, but he's a different running back. You know, Freeman is more of a power back.
Yeah.
And I think if you're utilizing both those guys, it's going to be tough for opposing defenses to stop.
So, I mean, that's something to look forward to with the Denver Broncos. And in a division now where now the Raiders have made a lot of moves, it looks like they could be on the up and coming. The Chiefs, who have a lot of questions now, kind of in a sense, I think, with
no Tyreek.
Tyreek Hill now, big weapon that they had last year. Patrick Mahomes, technically sophomore year now, coming off of an MVP season. Is he still going to be the guy that they have, or are teams going to be able to figure out the game plan to stop him and contain him?
You're right, and that's really the thing is when every team in the league, when you have a dynamic talent like Patrick Mahomes when he came in and he kind of lit the league on fire, after that year, now they have a whole year's worth of tape on him. They can they'll be able to spot tendencies that he makes, whether it be, audible signs, anything like that, anything that'll help them gauge on what way does he like to throw the ball. We all know that he can throw left-handed, 3 yards, 4 yards, but I don't know who can't.
The no-look pass, though, too.
I mean, the no-look pass, he's been doing that since he was little, but really, it's not that crazy to do. I mean, I've seen someone do it in flag football before.
Yeah.
So, I mean, is it cool in the NFL? Yeah, it's absolutely cool, but I'll tell you right now, it's not always going to work out. But Patrick Mahomes, he is a dynamic talent. I think now that they have enough game tape on him, I think teams are going to develop some sort of a defensive game plan to where it's going to give Patrick Mahomes fits. Now that they've seen how the Chiefs' offense runs with him at the helm, they're going to be able to develop some different defensive concepts going forward to kind of really frustrate that offense and how it runs.
Mm-hmm.
You also think about this, too. Kareem Hunt not there anymore.
Yep.
Tyreek Hill most likely. I hope he's never there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Shouldn't be.
Mm-hmm.
So you take those two big pieces away, and yes, they do have Williams, the young stud at running back who kind of like bursted onto the scene.
Yep.
And kind of took over that role. He's a good running back. I don't think he's Kareem Hunt though.
Right.
And if
you
lose
Carlos Hyde now there too.
Yeah, if you lose Tyreek Hill like everyone is expecting, that right there is a huge loss for that offense. I think Tyreek Hill, more than anybody else, any other receiver on that team, even Travis Kelce included, was really starting to make that offense tick.
Mm-hmm.
I think because a lot of teams had to worry about his explosive speed, had to worry about him just running right by everybody, even on short passes. Now, sometimes he got a handoff and would run 60 yards for a touchdown.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, that dangerous aspect of their offense is no longer there.
Mm-hmm.
That offense changes tremendously.
Yeah, like you said, game plan. Now teams are just going to look at it and say, all right, we'll just shut down Travis Kelce, and now we're forcing you to throw it to who? Sammy Watkins?
And play the run.
Yeah.
Play the run, defend Kelce. Double team Kelce.
Mike Tackett joins us again here. He goes, he wants to talk quarterbacks, Joe. Okay,
all right, let's do it.
So we've been talking quarterbacks all night. Let's talk some more. We like it. All right, given how successful of an NFL career Carson Wentz has had thus far, minus the injuries, I was under the impression that ND State quarterback Easton Stick would have went much higher in the draft than he did. Hold on, I have to see more. I didn't play a game plan for that one. All right, here we go. Holy moly. All right, here. All right, yeah, see, he likes to write the paragraphs and well-thought questions, though. I love this stuff.
That's right.
All right, here we go. Much higher in the draft than he did. To me, he would have been perfect to learn a year or two behind Tom Brady. I believe that he is better than Jared Stidham. But there's a reason why I'm making the choices for the Patriots. Why I'm not making the choices for the Patriots. With that said, I think that Easton Stick would be able to sit behind Phillip Rivers for a few years and be the next franchise quarterback for the Chargers.
Yeah, and it's possible,
Yeah.
just like any other quarterback. And that's the thing. There's another quarterback there, Ryan Finley.
Yeah.
That he started to kind of jump up the board, so to speak, as the draft got closer. A lot of people are high on him, saying that he could develop into the next future starter for the team that drafted him. And I think the same can be said for an Easton Stick. I think, he coming out of North Dakota State, he looks the part. He has the similar look of Carson Wentz. He can make the throws, but I think he needs more development in his game. And it's going to come with time. And what better place to go than LA Chargers right now? You get to sit behind Phillip Rivers, learn how to be a professional, learn how to handle the week-to-week process of game planning, and it's a great situation to be in as a quarterback because you're not going to be rushed in. You're not going to be fed to the wolves, so to speak, and you get to learn from one of the greats. So I think it's a nice situation to be in for him, and who knows, maybe he will be the next guy that they deem as their starter after Phillip Rivers retires.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I mean, you never know with some of these guys you pick later on. There has to be something possibly.
They're developmental players.
It's a win-win. That's the thing. If he develops into something, sure, it works out, and you look like a genius.
Right.
If not, you really didn't lose anything by going for it. So, and Stidham, I watched tape on him, and he looked good certain things at times, but again, I don't know. He could run a little bit, but not very much. And his decision-making was the main problem. It's like he had guys open where he didn't see it, and he would force it in the areas and where you're just like, what are you even doing? Sometimes you're looking at it like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And some of the supporters of him had said that, last year that he had, it was the system. It wasn't working out for him. He's more of a spread offense. If he gets in the right system, he can work out. Well, maybe the Patriots has the right system in it because, I don't know, we still kind of think, certain quarterbacks are good system quarterbacks, even though some other analysts and experts don't like that when you say that, but I
It
think it's
is
true
what it
for
is.
some people. Some people, that's just what it is.
Right.
And they perform well. And Stidham has said it himself that, the system wasn't right. He liked the old system that he was in before.
Yeah.
It made it better for him. And who knows? And I think when you talk about Carson Wentz, we saw what he could do with the Eagles, but we also saw, what RG3, he was able to do some stuff with the Washington Redskins, and he had a different dynamic and stuff. But when you get an injury that bad to your legs and things like that, and that could change you a bit. And did they rush him back a little bit too much last year to where he wasn't feeling comfortable enough, and he wasn't looking like the guy he was? Hopefully, after another year of resting again some more, that he can come back and be that guy that we saw for Pennsylvania and move forward for him.
Yeah,
You know
I
what
don't
mean?
think.
But I don't know. It could.
I
be
honestly don't
tough
think
for him.
that. I don't think Wentz was rushed back too early. I think he was completely healthy. He was fine. But there's another element to that whole situation: is your mental capacity.
Yeah.
Was he thinking about the injury while he was playing, which is a little bit of a distraction.
Yeah, it is. It
you
does.
know? And I point to Derek Carr when he basically broke whatever the hell it was, 3-4 bones in his back. And he was still playing, and he was kind of gingerly nervous about being hit or thrown to the ground or something like that. It affects you. An injury, any kind of an injury, will affect you mentally, and especially if you're a quarterback where you got a bunch of big dudes running at you, trying to get to you, trying to rip your head off. It affects you. You're going to think about it. You're going to try to shy away from anybody coming close to that what used to be an injury, and it might affect your mechanics. It might affect your processing in terms of evaluating the field, keeping your eyes downfield. So yeah, it'll affect you. And I think that Wentz had to go through that, just like Derek Carr had to go through it. I think both quarterbacks are going to be better after having another year gone through of moving around on their injuries and being able to go through drills and that sort of thing. So yeah, I think that this upcoming season, you're going to see a different quarterback in Wentz, a more comfortable quarterback in behind his offensive line.
Now, I was just looking over some of the picks here, and it made me think of something here with the Seattle Seahawks. They trade back a few times, and they get DK Metcalf late, last pick, I think, in the second round.
Yeah.
Now they're dealing with an issue to where Doug Baldwin now, where's Doug Baldwin's place in the NFL history now? Because he was kind of underlooked. He had that big thing with Chris Carter. Chris Carter saying you're just the snack or whatever, and he's like, I'm the whole meal, this and this. Nobody really thought of Doug Baldwin as this great wide receiver, but he has made a decent career for himself, and being a true number one guy there in Seattle, he's facing now possible retirement, and they're able to grab good steal here with a lot of explosiveness with DK Metcalf to where, again, he has the bad footwork with the route running and stuff, but he has a lot of other tangibles that if he just worked on those things, he could be a nice explosive player to where he's been paralleled with a Julio Jones. And how good would that be for the Seattle Seahawks? And with the trades that they had made and the positions that they had grabbed, they could look like possible winners in this draft too, the way they've handled some things.
Yeah, and the thing is, there's a reason why DK Metcalf fell so far. A lot of people were really high on him, saying, you got to take this guy in the first round. He's not going to be there if you don't. And he fell all the way through the second round and until Seattle was picking. So I think coming into it, the main issue that teams had a problem with DK wasn't his attributes, wasn't how big he was, how fast he was, obviously. He's got great hands. Problem is route running. If you don't have route running, you're not going to get open. This is the NFL. You're going to be facing corners that have the same speed as you. He ran, what did he run, a 4.3? I think he ran a 4.340 for his size and all that. But guess what? The corner that's going to line up opposite you every single week runs that same 4.340. So, and what was his major problem? Route running. He is so raw at route running. He had a hard time in Ole Miss. That is why Ole Miss University used him exclusively for deep routes, just streaks, post routes, where you only had to make one little cut and then go diagonally across the field, or drags, where you just right from the snap, just run right across the field. those were the only 3 routes that he pretty much ran with that Ole Miss offense. And that is the issue, is that teams were not allowed to have proof that he could run different routes. And he struggled. You know, he's not that guy that can make a difference in terms of the intermediate routes that are going to be required of him to make him a complete receiver. Mm-hmm. And because of that, that's why you saw him fall so hard. Could he develop into one of the nastiest receivers in this league? Yeah, sure. But will he? That's another thing. That's another thing to debate about. We don't know, because if he can't run routes in college, and that's why that's why Ole Miss didn't allow him to. Because let's face it, if you have a college team that's saying, "Oh, just keep running deep routes, you're good." Why do you think A.J. Brown got open so often? A.J. Brown was the better receiver. A.J. Brown could run routes. He had size. He has speed. He can catch everything. He's the more complete receiver. That's why you saw A.J. Brown get picked ahead of DK.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll wait and see what happens. But if that's the receiver that you're taking, and that's all he will ever be, is just a deep threat. A lot of people point the finger at Robbie Anderson, saying, "Oh, well, he's just a deep threat. All he does is run deep patterns," and that's because the Jets. That's all they wanted him to do. I think Robbie Anderson has more potential than DK. Even though DK's tremendously big and everybody looks at his picture and he looks like the Hulk, standing there. He's extremely strong, fast, all that. If he can't run routes, he won't last very long in this league. Just saying.
All right, there you go. So there's a nice another take on the now the Seattle Seahawks. A lot of stuff coming out of this here with the whole draft. We're still excited about it. A lot of different things moving and shaking here. The picks, some people are giving grades here and there. We don't do grades.
Because,
grades are dumb.
I mean,
again, it makes no sense.
Grades are dumb.
Absolutely, So we had a lot of fun talking about this.
And that's the thing is you can't judge a draft pick right now. Mm-hmm. It's impossible. Did you see them get on the field already and play? Mm-hmm. No.
Yeah.
What are you doing? I give them a B. How? How do you give them a B? Well, this pick deserves to be here. Well, how do you know that? You don't. Stop judging.
That's right.
It's okay if you like their draft or dislike their draft. That we have no problem with. But when you start giving out grades because you think you know where these guys are going to end up being 3-4 years down the road, absolutely ridiculous.
Yep, it is. And
follow us on Twitter.
Yeah.
At FB_no. Also, check us out on Snapchat, everybody.
That's right.
We just started to get into the Snapchat world there, having a little bit of fun with it, a little bit of, voice filters and just filters all together.
We did our draft coverage through Snapchat.
We did do our draft coverage through Snapchat. It was kind of funny.
Yeah.
We got some funny clips on there. Check out our group page, and scroll down. We do have those clips posted, I believe, right?
At least our reaction from the Daniel Jones
for
pick.
the Daniel Jones.
I can try and find some other ones and put them up there.
It is absolutely epic. You got to check it out. We're also on Snapchat. Also the same thread there at FB_no. Go ahead and follow us on Snapchat. Follow us on Twitter at FB_no, as well as Facebook, Football on the No Show, and YouTube. We are new to YouTube this year. We're going to be uploading every single episode on there. We hope that you support us in YouTube. Go ahead on there, Football on the No Show. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification bell to get any kind of little skit or snippet that we upload. And we'll see you next week.
Sounds good. See you next week.
Join us next week from 8 till 10 Wednesday night for more Football on the No with Jim and Joe.